Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Cruisers Podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Derek. It's great to be back with everyone. Alex, what a week. It has been a very busy week, both cruising wise, our personal lives, and our show last week. I think people enjoyed that show.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed recording it, so I really hope they enjoyed listening and watching.
We appreciate everyone taking time, of course, to watch the show. It was one of our longer ones. And we appreciate all the comments. A lot of you guys, you had stories about bad passenger behavior and things that you have seen on board. You took a second to share those things. And sometimes you read through those and you kind of get a laugh out of it, even though you're thinking in your mind, this is not funny. This is behavior that shouldn't be accepted. But then you're like, oh my gosh, really? Someone
Yeah.
experienced that. I have to laugh at it.
Yeah, and all I can say is I'm glad that you and I aren't the only ones that have experienced the types of things that we talked about. You know, it sounds like we're not the only ones.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Thanks everyone again. And we had also had several new viewers, new watchers, people who had left a comment and said, "Hey, I just discovered you guys. I appreciate it. I'm a cruiser myself. I like podcasts. I want to stay in touch with cruising." And so you kind of called that out. And so we'll tell everyone with this episode, if you're watching the Cruisers podcast for the first time, you're kind of getting caught up with everything going on. You're getting your place in the community. Let us know. Leave a comment below and say, hey, I'm new here. Leave your feedback on the shows that you've seen so far, your ideas on future shows. And be sure, of course, you're subscribed to YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify, you can add us to your playlist and make sure that when we release episodes, which is every single Monday, the entire summer, that you'll be notified and you can watch them. We have an interesting show today, and this one is controversial. This one, honestly, may split the fence, even though whenever Alex tells you the title here in just a second, of course, you've seen it when you clicked on the video or on the audio. But this one, you think it would be clear as day. You would think that there's no dispute. You would think that there's no argument. But this is one of the big elephants in the room when it comes to cruising. Alex, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the big T for tipping. Do you
Mm.
guys pay extra on the cruise? Do you remove your gratuities? Who specifically do you tip? Do you tip through your sign and sell card when you buy a beer, or do you bring cash to tip to the bartenders? We're going to dive into that today and share what Derek and I do, and we cannot wait to hear what you guys do in the comment section below.
For sure. Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting topic, and we're going to just clear a few things up front so that no one's upset. Okay. Number one, tipping and gratuities are completely optional, 100% optional. It's usually something that you do, an action that you do to show appreciation of someone who has done something special for you. We also want to point out up front, we are not just talking about the service charges that are added to your cruise, no matter your cruise line. There's other ways of gratuities and tipping besides those standard charges that are tacked on to your bill. Some of you prepay, some of you pay when you get on board. We're going to talk about those, but there's also other ways of tipping and leaving gratuities besides that.
Yeah, and Derek, I think we should go ahead and start with, a big part of your and Amanda's life is being a travel agent, and a very successful one at that. And so I know you get to talk to a lot of different clients. When you ask the clients up front, because I've booked cruises through you, you always
Yep.
ask, do you want to go ahead and add in your prepaid gratuities, or do you want to
Yep.
wait until you're on the ship and wait until this, second to last day for your sign and sell card to be charged? What do people typically do?
Absolutely. It is totally optional up front. And I do try to share with my clients. This is something that you can take care of up front. It's added in like your cruise rate, your port taxes and fee. It's due at your final payment, or you can wait and they can be billed to you. But Alex, you'd probably be surprised that it is split right down the middle. Probably
Hmm.
50% of people, they go ahead and prepay those gratuities. And the number one reason why people do this is they say they want to get all of the cost, the known cost, out of the way before they cruise. They don't want the surprise gratuities on there. And then you could probably imagine the other 50% who do not pay them up front. They say, well, I'm just going to have it tacked on when I cruise. In some people's minds, you might think, oh, they're going to take them off. That is not always the case. Some people barely have enough money to pay for their cruise rate, their port taxes and fees, their transportation, their excursions. And so they pay for all of that, and they really do wait until the gratuities are tacked on, and they do pay them with their final sign and sell bill or whatever cruise line they cruise. But it really is about 50-50 right down the middle.
That's interesting. And well, I mean, whenever I book cruises through I always tell you, I'm just going to wait until, sale time. Cause sometimes it's 3, 4, 5, 6 months out and I have, more time to save and things like that. And it's just not such a big bill all up front, but, you're right. Actually thinking about that, you would think, oh, I'm going to wait and pay when I get on the ship. You're probably thinking you guys are going to be those people in line on the last night that removes gratuities, but no, I'm thinking not. I'm thinking people just want to have a little bit more time to save.
Yep. You're exactly right. And it's interesting to see. There's no right or wrong way necessarily, but it really is split right down the middle. But really, we've talked about that some, but we also want to share that there are some other ways to tip, some other ways to leave gratuities. A lot of times this is something that is on cruisers' heart. You feel led to leave $2 here, give $5 there. And so we're going to talk about some of those different ways as well. And Alex, you kind of had an interesting perspective because you put this question out there on your page. If you haven't followed Alex yet on Facebook, go follow him because he posts things every single day, pictures and posts and questions. And you kind of reached out and said, hey, what are some different ways that you leave tips and gratuities? And you got some interesting feedback.
I did. And what kind of triggered me to do that is, scrolling through Facebook every day on all of the different cruise groups, I love to see ways people tip, for instance, their room steward on the very last day, whenever you're packing your bags and you have to be out of your cabin by 8:30, people will put their dollar bills out in 5s, 10s, and 20s and create like a heart, or they'll spell out thank you on the bed. And that stuff is so cool to me. And you're right. Tipping is you're giving somebody an additional amount of money for going above and beyond. This is on top of the gratuities that are automatically charged to your account every day. But some of the things that my followers do whenever it comes to tipping, they will tip the porters. So when you first pull in for embarkation, the people that help you take your bags out of the trunk and kind of make sure that they get on the ship, people will tip them. And I'll go ahead and start, Derek. How I typically, on a 7-night cruise, cruising by myself, I'll bring probably $200 in 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s. Yep. And depending on how the service is, that's how much I'll give you. And so whenever I am pulling up, I just have one bag. So I will typically always give the porter $2 to $3. But you guys have a family of 4 with a couple bags each. So how much do you guys give them?
We do, yeah. So we have anywhere from 4 to 6 bags because we're bringing sometimes we have picky eaters, so snacks on board or toys on board. And so I think that figure, that $2 or $3 per bag is right. And a lot of times, especially sailing out of Florida or sailing out of Galveston in June and July and August when it's hot, these guys and girls are working. These bags are not light at all. I'll give them for sure a $10 bill or give them $15. And sometimes when I give them $15, they look at me and like, hey, that's not necessary. But I've got 4 to 6 bags. And I know you're slinging those things up there. I know you're taking them down there. You're working, and I appreciate what you're doing. You're going to get my bags to where they need to go, and I appreciate that. And a lot of times you'll see, especially in Galveston and New Orleans, they're really good. They'll look and see, hey, you have priority. Hey, sir, I'm going to make sure I get these in the priority section. That way when you get on board, your bags will probably be there. And so I always appreciate that as well. But $2 or $3 per bag, I think, is the way to go. I think that is very fair. And I would venture to say that is the norm, although I cruise often and you do too. And not that I look for it, but I see people all the time who just drop them off and keep walking.
Tipping is optional, but I do a lot of those people. They get paid a very, very, very low wage because it is a gratuity or service gratuity type work. We were last week's episode. We talked about bad behaviors. And when
Yeah.
you were talking about, 5 or 6 bags, I was thinking about this one time a couple of years ago. I went cruising and had a couple of bags, and the porter was helping me take everything out of the trunk. And before I could even put my hand in my pocket to get the money, because I always have it ready to go, I don't have to sift through my wallet. He pulled out his tip money and said, "Hey, don't forget to tip me." And I was like,
Wow.
"Are you serious?"
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
bec- because I used to be a doorman at a hotel way back in the day, and I would have never have done that. I made $4 an hour, and I
Wow.
lived off of tips, but I didn't tip the guy because I was just
Yeah.
thinking that's a little arrogant. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it's all about how they treat you. So tip them however much you want, how great they make you feel. But if
Yeah.
they ask you for a tip, I wouldn't do it.
No, I agree with that. I agree.
Let's see. Next. So we've given our bags to the porter, and now it's time to get on the ship.
Yeah.
If you're diamond, platinum, priority, suites, getting married, any other priority type thing, you're allowed to go to your room at before 1:30 and kind of drop off your backpack and maybe a carry-on. During that time, I will always go find my room steward,
Yeah.
and I will immediately give him or her $20. Because I have a CPAP and I've got some things that I need to request like an extension cord from them and things like that. So I always give them $20 and just let them know up front, thank you, because that is
Exactly.
their hardest day of working is embarkation, debarkation. They have so many rooms to turn around and they work nonstop. So I let them know right up front, thanks for everything you do. And I also really like ice in my room. So just make sure I have ice all the time and we're going to get along just fine.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I'll say that we do the exact same thing, but I will say this. This may bring up some controversy because I see on social media all the time people share that when they meet their cabin steward that they say hello and they tip them up front and they think they're going to get better service. But that's not the reason that you just shared. It's not the reason that I would share either. But then people come back and they say you should not have to tip up front. You should not have to give them extra money so that they do their job. And that's not what you're saying. It's not what I'm saying either. When we go to our cabin, there are things that we need or
Right.
want and like as well. I like to have an extra pillow. There's two per person. I want a third pillow. So I'm asking for a pillow. Sometimes I ask for a fan. Do you have a fan? They'll ask, is it a medical reason? No, it's not. But if you have an extra, I would like a fan. And then, like you said, I like ice as well. And if we have our kids, I know they're going to earn their money because we try to pick up after our kids in the cabin, but
Yeah.
I know there's going to be some extra work that week. So I do go ahead and tip up front as well. And like you said, $20. And they are so gracious for that. But I'm not doing that so hoping that they would do their job per se. I'm doing that because I'm asking for things that are outside the norm. It's outside
Right.
of the way they prepare my cabin. So people may not like this, but I hope that you listen to the reason why we do it and you yourself think about that as well. And we'll pause here and ask all of you who are watching us and listening to us, do you have this same kind of tradition when you get on board? Maybe you need a couple things extra. You meet your cabin steward and you say, you know what? Here's a little thank you. This is going to be a great 4 days, a great 6 days, a great 15-day cruise. Do you do kind of the same thing? Let us know what you do and your thoughts on this in the comments section below.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing it up. That I have seen on a lot of the Facebook groups, people will say exactly what you said. I shouldn't have to tip up front for them to do their job, but
Yeah,
you know what? A little bit goes a long way. It really
yeah,
does. These room stewards work so incredibly hard, and it's every little bit helps them for
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Now, for me, another thing I like to do when I get on the ship, first thing is the maitre d' will have an opportunity to allow you to come and ask questions about, hey, where's my
Yeah,
dinner table? I'm actually cruising solo. I'd like to have a table by myself instead of with a group of people. And they will do
yeah,
their absolute best to accommodate those requests. If you if they are able to accommodate your request, maybe give you a chair by the or maybe give you a table by the window, what do you think that you should tip them? I always give them like $5 or $10 for doing that because they didn't have to do that for me. Have you
Yeah,
done it?
I think, yeah, absolutely. And I think what you said, I think the lower end, just a little thank you for your time, because that day, embarkation day especially, there's a lot of people going to the dining room to request, I want
Hmm.
late dining instead of anytime dining. And we met people in the terminal, and we were supposed to have a party of 6. Now we have 10. It takes some time. And so I think just a little thank you. We've done the same thing. Hey, can we sit by the windows? And speaking of windows, if you haven't watched the episode last week, where we were sitting by the windows and literally someone that I was on the cruise with got into a fight, go back and watch it. But it's special when they say, you know what, yes, we're going to seat you the way you want to be seated or where you want to be seated. That makes your cruise special. Why not give them, hey, here's $5. I really do appreciate you. And of course, they appreciate it as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, just like with the room stewards, every little bit adds up. If everybody tips them a little bit, it's going to make them and their life and their families' lives much better. And plus, we're on vacation. We're here to celebrate the good times. And why not
Yeah,
make somebody else's life a little bit better just by giving them a little bit of a tip? And
right.
speaking of main dining room, for those of you that have, early seating, late seating, your time dining, if your service is perfect, they remember
Mm.
your name. I love that. I know they probably
Oh,
have it on their little iPad, and with my
yeah,
picture, but oh man, it is still
that's
so
okay.
cool. And it's still so cool. And they call me Alex, it makes you feel like a little bit of a celebrity. And if my service is great throughout the week, I'll give them a little bit on top of the mandatory gratuities that, are
Yeah,
charged by the cruise line. I'll always give
yeah,
them not a ton, but I'll always give them a little something.
I agree. And I feel moved a lot of times on the specialty, the either a specialty restaurant or when it's the elegant night. And we will have a show about elegant nights coming up, because that's a whole another ordeal in itself. Some people love them. Some people say, cut it out. I don't want to dress up. But those nights, those formal nights, are the busiest nights of the entire cruise, and these guys and girls are busting it. They're carrying. It's crazy. They carry that tray, and there's like 20
Oh,
or 25 dishes on there. People are ordering 2 lobster tails, and they're ordering 4 appetizers and all this. And so, like you said, if
yeah.
service is just excellent, I do not mind leaving, $10 for each crew member that helped, at our table. And so, a lot of times with formal dining, I'll use that opportunity to kind of say, hey, I know tonight was a rough night. I know every table in here is being used. Thank you for working, for busting it. And again, I have kids, and they need that second dish of ketchup. They want the extra order
Yep.
of fries. So I say yes. I appreciate you being patient, and speedy and things like that. So I do tip in the main dining room, although it's not mandatory. And Alex, it sounds like, of course, you do as well. And I wonder if that's the norm. I know that those watching and listening will let us know what they do as well.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know in the comment section below. And Derek, I am so guilty of ordering 2 or 3 appetizers, which
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to get, and I get this almost every night, is the shrimp cocktail.
Oh
If
my
I were to
God.
go to the store right now and buy a shrimp cocktail, it wouldn't even taste near as good as it does on a cruise ship. You get
No.
the lemon and the cocktail
Yeah.
sauce, and
The sauce
I
is like
order.
the best in the world.
Yes, and I'm sure they bought the shrimp from the same place you and I do. I'm sure they
Yeah.
ran down the street to Kroger and got some, but but man, and then lobster tail night. Ooh,
Yeah.
if there's somebody in my party that doesn't like lobster tail, where they only order one, you're allowed 2. So I'll be
Yes.
like, hey, can you order that second lobster tail so I can have 3, because this is one.
That's right.
I never get treated like this. This is the
No,
best night of
no.
my life.
And they're like 2 or 3 ounces.
Yeah,
So
they're super small.
before you say, okay, I had 4 lobster tails, come on. But cruise hack, okay. You're looking for a reason to have kids. I mean, that's what it is. I will order on lobster tail night. I'll say, oh, yes, my oldest wants 2 lobster tails. Oh, my
Yeah.
youngest loves lobster tails as well. But please also bring the chicken nuggets and fries. And so they
Yeah,
look at me
yeah,
like, what?
they're growing boys. They're super hungry tonight. It's crazy.
Yes, yes. The lobster tail and chicken nuggets. And mom and dad will take the lobster tail. Thank you.
That's right. I've actually ordered 3 before. This was a couple years ago, and it was still in the time frame of that they changed that they made the rule where you have to
Yeah.
pay $5 extra on Carnival, and a lot of
Which, come
times
on,
they'll
five,
just
$5 for a lobster tail? I
yeah,
mean,
it's nothing. They'll
okay.
just bring me that third one for free. They won't even charge me for
Yeah.
it. It just that's another of those things. If they do something like that for you, they don't have to do that. They can charge
Yeah.
you. Give them
That's
a
right.
couple bucks.
Exactly right.
Um, Speaking of food and stuffing our faces, do you remember back in the day when you could put the thing outside your door with, you'd circle, I want Fruit Loops, I want some milk, I want some
Yes.
coffee, I want a Danish. Man, I miss that
Yeah.
so much. But a lot
I
of
do too.
people might have, not even thought about this, but they probably think, oh, it's gone forever. If you call room service on Carnival between, I think, 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., you can still order
Yeah.
everything that was on that little placard, and
That's right.
they'll bring it to you and it's free. Now, for things like that, definitely tip them because they're hustling hard and they're not making a nickel off of that. This is when
Yep.
I always bring a lot of my smaller bills because anytime somebody delivers something to my room, I give them $2.
Yep.
It's not a lot of money, guys, and it goes a long way for them. What about you, Derek?
It's crazy as we have this conversation, and we did not have it before this show, but our amounts are so identically close. I
Yeah,
agree. $2 is kind of what we do on a small order. Now, if I'm ordering 3 orders of cookies and I want coffee, and of course I bring you a whole pot of coffee, and I want 2 raspberry muffins, and the boys want cereal. Okay, now I'm probably going to bump that up to $5. But I think a
yeah,
couple dollars is more than fair. And I want to use this time here for just a second because I see a lot on social media of people who say, I do a good job of tipping, like we're talking about, the first few days of my cruise, but then I run out of small bills. And I don't know if they're using that as an excuse to not tip the rest of their cruise. But I want to remind you, if you're ever at a point where you need smaller bills, you can go one of 2 places on board and get those easily. Number one is guest services. You can go to guest services, lay down $100 and say, hey, I want a 20 and X amount of tens and fives and ones. They'll give it to you. The second place is the cashier at the casino. You can walk up, not even cash out chips or anything, just lay down $100 bill or a couple of 20s and say I need some smaller bills. So don't let your availability um, hinder you from tipping if you want to tip, of course. So remember that as you're looking for those small bills or you run out of them.
that's right. And you know what? What if you completely run out of money altogether? I don't have any bills left. Is there a place on the ship where I can get money?
Yeah, there's a couple different places. The ATM, of course, and
That's
it will
right.
charge you a fee to get money out. Or if you want to get some money out for free, you have to be disciplined. But you can sit down at a slot machine. You can put in $100, $200, and of course you set up your account, whatever. You could pull the arm one time, play a quarter, play a dollar, and then cash out. Go to the cashier and say you want to cash out your player's card, your player bank, and then they'll give you the cash money right there, and there's no fee for that.
That is a really good hack. I didn't even think about that because on my
Yep.
last cruise, I needed I forgot to get money at the ATM on the way to the airport, and then by the time you get to the airport on like the day before cruise day, it's just bam, 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 nonstop until you
Yeah.
get on the ship. So yeah, I didn't think about that. I think I
Yeah.
paid like a $6.50 service fee, but I needed the money I didn't care to pay that. But
You have to be
little
disciplined. It's hard
right, I
sometimes
know.
to that money
I'm
and
gonna
you're
take $10,000 out and see if I get that much. I don't have
like,
it, but I'll see if it comes out.
that's right. That's right.
So what about now? I'm talking cash tips right now. What about when you go to the bar and you order a drink? You go to Alchemy. Do
Yeah.
you because anytime you order a drink on the ship, they're going to charge you a
Yeah.
service fee, and a lot
18%.
of times, yep, and 18% adds up real quick. Do you tip on top of that? A, do you give them cash, or B, do you just add it to the credit card or sign and
Yeah.
sell statement?
I do my best to leave cash, try to have those ones on me, and a dollar is sufficient. Now, here's kind of my theory. If I walk up to a bar and I order a Miller Lite, and I maybe have, they're going to charge me gratuities, and maybe I have cheers. I've already paid for those service charges and gratuities. I may not leave anything. Literally, I may put a
Yeah.
line across at zero. You grabbed a drink for me and twisted the cap, right? But if I'm at Alchemy, if I'm at another bar where the drink that I order a cucumber sunrise, for example, at Alchemy, and it takes a couple of minutes to make, and
Mhm.
they're crushing the cucumber and they're measuring this and that and they're shaking and stirring. Okay, now I need to tell you thanks. Okay, so just a dollar or two, really, and I try to leave cash, but a dollar or two does the trick. And if you don't have cash, you can leave it on your receipt. And you probably notice if you stay up late enough, you'll notice the bartenders at the computers with all their receipts for the whole night, and they're adding up and they're putting those, a dollar here, $2 there, $5 there. And so they do get that money. There's been questions there before. Does it go to a big pot or something like that? They keep those as individual bartenders, so feel free to tip that way as well.
Oh, I love Alchemy Bar. It's just so fun to watch them make those drinks. And
Yeah,
you're right. It's not like a Crown and Pepsi or, something
yeah,
easy like that. Yeah. If you go to Alchemy, definitely give them something additional because it does take a couple minutes to make those drinks and they present it to you in
yeah,
such a nice way.
yes,
It's so cool. Now,
yeah,
Royal Caribbean, they've got these robots that will make your drink for you. I don't know how that works. It's been so long since I've been on Royal, but what do you think
yeah,
about that? What if Carnival were to just add in some robots for drinks? I don't know if I would like that
yeah,
personally because I like, hey, if you have the same bartender more than once and you tip them the first time, they might give you a little bit more than just a shot in your drink. I'm
yeah,
just saying, a robot is not going to do that.
yeah, yeah. The bionic bar, I think it is, and
Yeah,
it's been iffy. Some people who love engineering and they love technology, they love that bar. Where literally robot arms are making your drink. But I think it really does take away from the experience and getting to know your bartender and the songs they sing and the faces they
yeah,
make and the way
yeah,
that they shake it, shake it, shake it.
yep.
I think it takes away just a little bit. It's a neat concept, but I would not find myself utilizing that robotic bar if I were on a ship, a Royal Caribbean ship that had it. And it's interesting as well to point out, not saying it's a failed system, but a lot of times these bionic bars with the robots are on. I won't say older ships, but they're not on the most recent, 3, 4, 5 ships. So maybe Royal kind of got the same feedback as what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, if somebody brought me a bionic bar to my house, I would absolutely utilize it
Yeah,
a lot. I would utilize it more than I would on a cruise ship. I'll tell you that.
that's right.
I would get that beer belly really quick. The last one I have on my list before, well, it's actually second to last, is laundry attendant. If you're going on a 7-night cruise, a lot of times, you may not have 7 pair of socks, 7 pair of underwear, 7 pair of shorts. So you need to do laundry during your time. And if you're diamond or platinum on Carnival, you get 2 bags free
Yeah,
on a 7-day sailing. And I always utilize it. Um,
absolutely.
and it is a quick service. It's a quick turnaround. And a lot of times, and it does make me a little mad, is they'll sneak it into my room. They'll sneak the
Yeah,
clothes back into my room while I'm at breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and I don't have an opportunity to tip them because they snuck in like a quiet as a mouse. But if I do get a chance to see them, I'll always give them a couple dollars because they too are working their tails off.
they are. They are. And when you get everything back, it's folded and almost pressed,
Yeah,
and everything is like so soft. They do a really good job. And I think, like you said, $2 per bag, I think is more than fair. Um, you washed my clothes, you dried my clothes, you folded my clothes, you brought them back to my cabin. Yes, I'm giving you $2. Yes.
yes, yes, and I love that is like my favorite perk of being
Yep.
platinum is
It is
the
cool.
free laundry. It is awesome. Now the
It is cool.
last one I do have is tipping without using cash. A lot of
Yeah.
times people will go into port and they'll buy gifts for their room steward.
Yeah.
For instance, we've had a room steward that we get to know really well, and they let us know that they've got a baby at home or a toddler at home, and they'll show you pictures and things like
Yeah.
that. And so um, we have brought ducks on the ship, of course, to hide and everything, and they made a comment that, oh, I collect ducks and things like that, and so we'll always give them a duck, and they're like, I always go home with a big suitcase full of ducks for my kiddos. But I have seen in cruise groups where people will go to the local Walmart in Mexico, and they'll buy brand new shoes for somebody on
Yeah,
the ship, and I think that's really, really cool. Those people
uh,
that do like probably back to backs that really have an opportunity to get to know their
mhm.
room steward or a bartender or something, that really, really warms my heart when people do that. They'll buy, little laundry detergents or something
Yeah,
like that to give, and I just think it's so cool, and
yeah,
it's almost better. It's almost better than money at that point.
yeah. One thing that we do in addition for some crew members, and it can maybe casino dealers or comedy club hosts, we've done that before. We spend a lot of time at Cherry on Top with our kids, and we use Cherry on
Mm,
Top kind of as a reward system. If you're good during this, and if you do this, but I'll ask, my cabin steward or someone that I want to get something for, and I've tipped them throughout the week. I'll ask them, hey, what's your favorite candy? And who doesn't like candy? Whether it's something
right?
sour, whether it's chocolate, whether it's something sweet. And every time I've ever asked a crew member what's your favorite candy, they will tell me not just one thing, but usually three or four things. And so, what I've started to do the last few cruises, in addition to tipping a couple dollars here and there, is going to Cherry on Top, getting the candy that they said in one of those last nights, giving them that candy. And you can tell when someone's kind of fake happy, but they are ecstatic when they receive this candy that really they don't enjoy. It's not available in the crew
Yeah.
area necessarily. They could buy it if they wanted to, but they don't want to buy it. And so it's neat to always give them kind of a sweet treat reward from Cherry on Top. I've started to do that.
I think that is the coolest idea because you're buying them something that they would love to have, but they just don't want to spend the money on it. Just like me, I love Reese's peanut butter cups, but I only buy them every now and then. But if someone were to
Yeah,
buy me one, I'm going to sit down and eat it right then. I It got me thinking. I wish there was a way where we could tip them cash, obviously, but there was a way that we could kind of tip them a benefit, such as
yeah,
like a Wi-Fi card,
yeah,
because they pay for daily Wi-Fi at 24-hour increments, and they do have special days. Like on the Jubilee, when I had a chance to go behind the scenes a couple of weeks ago, behind the closed doors where only crew go, I got to see their daily list of activities, and I know the days that they're in Roatan, they get, I think it's $3 a day for their Wi-Fi,
Hmm.
and because you think cruise ship staff, they have to pay for their Wi-Fi. That's not just given to them. It's not like you're staying at a free hotel and you just log into the free Wi-Fi. They have to pay for that. So I wish there
Yeah.
was a way that we could tip them Wi-Fi. I would
That's
love that if I was crew.
that is a really cool idea. Maybe something in the future that we could do, or
Yeah.
sending that candy to their room, or sending a soft drink,
Yeah.
something that they want. It's neat because at the end of the day, they're people just like you and I. And after a long day of work and working hard, you take a shower, you might turn the TV on, you get your phone. Do you not want to log on to the internet and see what's going on? Do you not want to have a little treat at the end of the day, laying down, you're resting? And so I think that's a great idea and something maybe in the future of cruising we'll be able to do.
Yeah, I think we should bring that up to somebody,
Yeah,
actually. I mean,
I agree.
wouldn't that just be so cool? I mean, we could give them $3 and say, "Hey, this is for Wi-Fi," but I just think to be able to gift them, because they also have a Carnival Hub app just like us to manage their account, because there's a crew bar and drinks are
Yeah,
significantly less than anywhere else, but um, crew still have to pay the 18% gratuity to the bar because somebody has to serve them, and
absolutely.
there's they have their own little sign and sell account. So, oh man, who do we need to
Yeah.
talk to make sure that happens? John Hild, where are
Maybe
you?
so. Yeah, maybe we send him something because of anyone. It's John Hill and those who have worked in bartending positions and things like that who know how special of a gift that would be. So that's pretty cool. Maybe that's something to put on our to do list and see maybe if
Yes,
we can create some momentum with that right there. Pretty cool. Neat idea.
I love
I've
it.
got a question. I've got a question for you.
What's
talking
up?
about tipping and gratuities and things like that. We've walked through really all kinds of different types of tipping in different ways to show your appreciation, and certainly there are much more. I know that those that are watching and listening, you're going to put kind of the ways that you tip, and a couple ways I can think of. You might tip someone randomly who's working on cleaning a certain area of the ship. You're just walking by and it's just a house team or housekeeping member that you see that they're working, you give them a couple bucks. Maybe you win in a casino at a table game. You play 29 on the roulette wheel, or 17 in my case. 29 is mom's birthday, 17's anniversary, and it hits it. You give a tip to the dealer. So there's different ways to show appreciation and thank you, and we want you to share those things. But going back to kind of the standard service charges and gratuities that all of us are supposed to pay, it is optional. Uh, there may be reasons why people take them off. And Alex, you referenced this in the video last week. The last day of the cruise, you see people at guest services. That line is extremely long. There's
Man,
20 or 30 people in there. And you know what most of them are doing. Some of them are
yeah.
not removing their gratuities, but the majority are removing their gratuities. And I always wonder why. Why are you removing their gratuities? Did you have a situation where you were upset? Did you have maybe issues where your desires and your expectations were not met? Or Alex, what about this? Could it be that over the course of the week cruise, you spent more money maybe than what you wanted to? Casino, shopping, excursions. There's so many different ways to spend money. You spent more money, and you're saying, "How can I need to cut some money. I need to cut this." And so now I'm going to remove those gratuities from my account.
Mm.
Do you think maybe that could be an issue of why some people have to remove those service charges?
Come to think of it, yeah. And you know what? I've received notices on my door. Hey, it's the last night. You need to go settle your account.
Yep.
And I get embarrassed because I feel like everyone's looking at me like he sucks.
Yeah.
He's gonna remove his gratuities or whatever. But that's a really good point, Derek. And maybe it's time for cruise lines to, I don't know, make you include it in your fare. Um,
Exactly.
and hey, it's going to be $1,500 to cruise per person, but it's actually going to be $1,750, and
Yeah.
$250 of that is going to go to that's your weekly tips or whatever.
That's
Um,
right.
because look, I get it. I know it's a big chunk of money all at once, but when you remove your tips, you're removing part of somebody's paycheck. I kind of want you to put yourself in their shoes. You work so hard every day, whether you're a you know uh, patient or customer facing type business where you do have to provide good customer service, or if you work behind the scenes and you're you're typing on the computer all day. What if it was payday Friday and your check was $50 cheaper or $50 less? I'd be so mad.
Yeah.
And
When you did the same work, you did the
yeah,
work,
yeah.
but you
I
didn't get the same amount of money.
and that's what I really want people to sit down and think about is it's a lot of money, but maybe not buy 4 or 5 extra drinks every day. I mean,
Yeah.
you're taking away somebody's paycheck, and I don't even like that the cruise lines allow you to do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, the cruise lines should put their foot down and say no. But
Yeah.
you know,
Unless there's
they
some
didn't.
crazy situation, something
Yeah,
really did happen. But then again, usually they can sort something out. Usually cruise lines try to make it right, but you've hit the nail on the head. When you remove those gratuities, you're not removing money that's going to Carnival Cruise Line, Carnival Corporation, Christine Duffy, someone
right.
like that. You are taking money that's going to these people who have tried to make sure you've had a fantastic week. You've had clean areas and venues. Your cabin has been clean. Your food has been hot and fresh. You're taking the money away from them. And yes, it's a question out there that's been asked many times. Do these gratuities actually go to who they say that they actually go to? And that answer is yes. These people, your cabin stewards, those of you working in the dining room and behind the scenes and things like that, they get paid very low money per
Hmm.
hour, almost zero, and it is and their salary is dependent on those gratuities. And so I'm with you. I wish cruise lines would maybe do something a little bit extra to say, you know what, these are service charges, and you're responsible for them. Um, it should be a fixed cost and something that you budget in at the end of the day. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be something that's a surprise. It should be something when you book your cruise, you know you're going to have to pay for parking. You know you're going to have to pay for transport from the airport to the hotel. You know the excursions, but you also know there are service charges that you're responsible for as well. And I hope people over time see that, and you see less people that last day removing those service charges, maybe because they spent too much money. They went to the specialty dining. They bought the extra drinks. They went to the casino and spent money, and now they have to cut gratuities. I hope that's not the case, but I feel like a lot of times that is the case.
Yeah, I maybe that's another thing we can add to the list of we're gonna be cruise changers. We're gonna
Yep.
change the way cruise lines do things, just because
Yep.
we have millions and millions of followers that are subscribed to our YouTube channel. So we
Yep.
have a community now. But man, it's been
I
a
love
fun show.
That was a fun show, and it's sometimes a controversial topic. So I'm glad that we were able to navigate and share kind of the lay of the land and different ways that you could show your appreciation. It's not just the big service charges, but we have laid a lot out there, and there's a lot to discuss. We would love to hear from those of you who are watching and listening what your take is on gratuities and service charges and tips. Are you kind of free flowing? Whenever you give that $2, that $5, does it not make you a little bit proud to see that person's smile and reaction? You do it because that money that you're giving to them is worth more, valued more than it is to you. I mean, $2, really? I mean, you can't buy a candy bar and a Coke for $2 anymore.
Right.
But you can make someone smile, and I think a lot of times that's why you and I and millions of others go ahead and we tip a little bit to see that smile, to see that appreciation. And so we can't wait to see what everyone has to say about tipping and gratuities. It's going to be an interesting conversation because I know there will be some who are kind of in line with us, and there will be those who say, I don't pay it because it's not mandatory. If you want me to pay it, tell me I have to pay it. So we'll
Right.
kind of see in the comment section how this lays out. But Alex, it has been a fun show. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We hope that you have as well. If you have not liked the video yet, please do that. And also consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. You are on Facebook groups. I know you are. Dozens and dozens of them. If you're in those groups, you know people who like to cruise, who like to discuss cruising, share this podcast with them.
Yeah.
We would love to do that. And can you believe we have almost 45 minutes of tips and gratuities? That is pretty cool.
Time flies when you're having fun. And, just like Derek said, we're not really afraid to talk about the controversial topics. I mean,
Yeah.
when you think of cruising in the cruising industry, there's a lot of different things where people are for it and people are against it. And we are going to tackle those topics. Let us know in the comment section below what you want us to talk about in future episodes. I've got a couple of ideas in my head of, controversial ideas and topics for cruising, but we want to hear from you. We want to grow this community, and we aren't going to just rule every show. We want you guys to tell us what you want us to talk about, and we will. And we cannot wait to film more episodes. And gosh, Derek, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, and we've said it before, we'll say it again. This is the Cruisers Podcast. This is not Alex's podcast. It's not Derek's podcast. This is the Cruisers Podcast, where we come to talk about all things cruising, controversial topics, places to go, places to see, cruise lines, all kinds of experiences. So you have a voice here. You have a place here. Be sure you share those things that you want to see, as Alex said. We appreciate you watching today and listening. Of course, we'll see you next Monday and every Monday all summer long. I'm Derek.
And I'm Alex. And we'll
see you next week on the Cruisers
Podcast.
Bye, guys.